Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be going over everything that is important for your business and the internet, all the things that you should know as a business owner when it comes to digital and your business. So we're going to be going over things like your domain, website information, social media, and just very basic general things that you need to know about all of these things in relation to your business. So if you want to take notes on this episode, this would be a good one. You'll also notice that we are finally in the studio. If I don't mess up the video this time around, we'll actually have some video for the YouTube channel as well if you'd like to join us there. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Like I said, if you want to take notes, this would be a great episode to do that. So the first thing we're going to be going over is your domain and website info. So the first question we would want to answer is, what is a domain? So the domain is your .com, .org, .net, .media. That's what my business uses. So it is the web URL that is tied to your business's website. And a big thing that I stumble upon a lot with business owners is that they don't know where their domain is hosted or who has access to that. So they may have hired someone like myself in the past as a web designer, and the web designer purchased the domain for them, maybe or maybe didn't pass off the password, and that's as much as the business owner knows and remembers. So that is one thing that is a huge asset to your business, is the actual domain itself. As if you could imagine, if you had 10 years of web traffic and then someone just deletes your .com or takes access to it and ties it to maybe their competing website or something to that effect, it could be somewhat detrimental to success of business, and it's also going to hurt all the hard work that you've built up on the internet, getting all the traffic to your old domain. Domains themselves are tied to the Google listing, so that's kind of another reason it has value there, is if you lose the domain, then you also lose the traction that you kind of created with Google and all of the traffic you were sending there to the site. So knowing where your domain is hosted is a pretty popular thing. So there's GoDaddy, Google Domains, Namecheap, the list goes on. There's literally hundreds, maybe thousands of resellers for domains. Knowing where that is, the password to it, and who has access to it, very important. If you haven't reset it in a while, I'd reset it. The password. How does it connect to your website is another thing I really wanted to go over. So now that you know where your domain is and what the password is to it, where does it actually go? So, and how does it connect to your site? So the web URL, if you want to think of it, is kind of like a name floating in space, and until you tie it to something, which is the website, people can't go anywhere. They can type in the name all day long to that .com, but the domain could be hosted somewhere, right? Like GoDaddy, for instance, you could buy a domain there, but until you actually tie it to a website, then the domain itself is useless. So typically you'll find yourself paying for a website host and a domain host. Sometimes that's the same person. And just like the domain, you want to know where your website's being hosted, the password to it, who all has access to that. And if you can't already kind of discern why it matters, if it's gone, it's gone. And your website, your social media, they are extremely crucial assets to your business. They're some of the most valuable things in your asset category that your business will end up owning after if you use in a business. A lot of people's websites generate the majority of their leads or their sales, same with social media. So we want to keep track of these things and make sure that they are actually ours and going to stay ours. The next thing I want to go over is your website and social media acting as the front door to your business. This is a train of thought I've been trying to train clients on for a while here, but first impressions matter to you as a business owner. And the reason I'll tell you I know why is because if you've decorated your website or your storefront, or maybe you do eBay selling, if you've edited the description of your store on eBay, wherever it is you sell, you typically have manicured what that looks like so that when the customer comes to buy, they're actually enticed to do something and to buy, right? So what I've been trying to train people to do is to start thinking of their social media and their website, the presence and look of those, to be just as important as the front door of their business, because it's the same concept, right? Like someone's coming up and they can interact with it, they can see it, and so it could even be the first impression that the person has in your business. So that is something that I've been really trying to hammer down to people. Is like, I literally had someone ask me, well, I do power washing, why would I need a website? And it's like, well, all your leads can come through your site. So, apart from not only why would I have a website, but why does it need to look good? Why should I pay a team like yours to come and develop something that actually is functional and pretty? Is because, just like I said, the first impression has a huge impact on the actual sale itself. So the better of an impression that we can leave, the higher that you'll be able to charge over the lifetime of your business's existence for your products and services. And the next thing I want to go over, which kind of segued from that with social media and everything, is that a lot of people don't know that social media actually has two halves to it. So there's the first half, which is the organic half. That's what most business owners or managers have dealt with and still do deal with on their own. And then there's the half that never gets really the light of day for most people, which is the paid half, which is where we actually run the ad campaigns and everything in the back end. So this is not boosting a post. This is actually a whole separate platform on the back end of Facebook where you can actually go in and create whole campaigns. This is what we're paid to professionally do. We're trained to do this. And so that is the other half. So there's the paid half and the organic half. And the reason I say that it's half, not 70-30 or the other way around, is because they really are almost equally important. You kind of have to attack the desire for success on social media on two different fronts. And one of them is the organic one. So it's like, how well are we doing on posting, getting engagement, and all the things that are free to us. And I use air quotes because they're not free. So you have to pay someone to do that and spend time to make photos and do that, where you're spending your own time. Your own time costs money. And then there's the paid half, which is kind of like I said, running the ads and everything. And truthfully, I think both are crucial to getting the page to actually do what most people want it to do, which is generate more revenue for the business. So not only just knowing that there's two halves, but understanding that both are equally weighted and important. The next thing I wanted to go over is, the doubts behind some people, which if you're listening to this podcast, I highly doubt you have these doubts, but social media actually can make your business money. It actually can be a positive in the asset category for everything. So social media works really, really well for sales, promotions, events, and one of the biggest things it does a good job at is brand awareness. I gave a presentation a few weeks back. I forget the stat, but I think it was like 67% of people said that they can see a brand on Instagram and be impacted in the when it comes to making a purchase decision. So that's roughly 3/4 of the people on Instagram, 150 million active daily users. 3/4 of them are basically saying that they are impacted indeed by the actual brand presence that a brand will give off on social media. Something else that I wanted to address, which is again it's right behind what I'm talking about with the social media stuff, is managing your expectations as a manager or an owner when it comes to social media. It really does take not only a team and not only a plan, but it takes time to actually implement these things. We have some clients, like 3 days out of the gate, they'll be trying to kind of change what we're doing. And what I normally will come back to them and say is like, let me fail before you try to correct me. And then, we never have to have that conversation again because things actually end up turning the way that we wanted them to. But what I mean to say is when you have an actual plan together with a team to implement the plan and you're willing to wait enough time for this plan to have success, it's going to work. So at that point, it's just like, who's the team and what is the plan, right? Time is always going to be doing its thing, but the expectations we set with ourselves through paid and through organic need to be realistic. And when we start to do all of this stuff, if you say, today, hey, I'm going to start Facebook marketing, you need to put your best foot forward the first time, and have an actual good plan set up and ready to go. I have some clients that are very, very smart. Before they even start their social media and their online branding, they'll come to us and already have us right there from the beginning, and that's the best way that you can possibly do it. Something else I wanted to go over, platforms are different. So not all platforms are born equally. A lot of people know this, but I need to just address it quickly. Facebook is typically, and I'll just say some examples as to why. I'm not going to say every difference between them or we'd be here all day. Facebook is typically an older demographic, whereas Instagram and TikTok are younger and older. Twitter and LinkedIn is where you are more likely to find professionals lingering around on the internet, the professionals of the world. Snapchat's better for low-cost items to be sold on ads and sponsored ads and affiliate marketing. And Yelp, as you can imagine, doesn't need to be done by a small mom and pop shop owner, but it would need to be something that's managed by a restaurant owner. So understanding that just because you have a business, that doesn't mean that you need to be on every single social